everybody. I'm so grateful for Teresa and Margaret. They're able to join me again for this episode where we're going to be talking about another topic today. If you remember in the last episodes, we spoke about creating model users, one couple who gave their testimony, and then we went into miscarriage section. So today we're going to be talking about infertility. We will start with the physician's comment. The number of women who are experiencing infertility in the United States has significantly increased over the last 20 years. Infertility is generally defined as the inability to achieve a pregnancy with the use of random intercourse over a 12-month period of time. All infertility is the result of underlying disease. The created model system, with its focus on the better understanding of a human fertility, also allows for a better evaluation and a treatment plan to be developed for women who experience infertility problems. Such conditions as limited mucus cycles, premenstrual spotting, tail and brown bleeding, long and irregular cycles, and in some cases the complete absence of menstruation and ovulation are findings observed in women with infertility.
What the CRATE model system has introduced into the evaluation of infertility is truly the missing link in infertility evaluation and treatment. Over the last 30 years, the major emphasis in the approach of infertility treatment has been the use of artificial reproductive technologies. In these approaches, the underlying cause is jumped over and ignored. Since conception is coordinated in an artificial fashion, it is thought that the natural underlying fertility problem can be ignored. Because of this approach, modern management of infertility reaches only 20 to 30% success rates. In fact, in vitro fertilization, which is the major form of artificial reproductive technology, actually helps less than 1% of infertile couples in the United States on a yearly basis.
NaProTECHNOLOGY and the CRATE model system have refocused the energies in infertility on establishing a sound diagnosis of the underlying problem and then treating it successfully. This is usually done, first of all, by tracking one cycle using the CRATE model system and looking for various biomarkers that might indicate an abnormality. Then, an underlying hormonal evaluation and ultrasound study is done, followed by a diagnostic laparoscopy and selective hysterosalpingogram. All of these tests will almost always determine the underlying cause. These causes then have specific forms of treatment that can be applied. The success of these programs ranges from 30% with very severe pelvic adhesive disease and occlusion of the fallopian tubes to a high 80 to 85% in women with polycystic ovarian disease and chronic anovulation. In fact, NaProTECHNOLOGY has been shown to be 1.4 to 2.8 times more successful than the current artificial reproductive technologies. In addition, the underlying diseases are not ignored, they are treated.
I think it's worth noting what Dr. Hill just saying about all infertility is the result of underlying disease, because we live in a culture that treats fertility as a disease, that wants to stop it from functioning normally.
Right, and there's not, infertility itself is not really a diagnosis, it's something else that's causing the infertility. So the diagnosis, the real reason for the infertility is just left ignored.
Yeah. Because we have this Band-Aid approach now with ART, artificial reproductive techniques, so makes it easier for doctors to just suggest that. Even if there is a problem, sometimes the problem can be really resolved and conception can happen naturally, but why not go the easy route, the one that makes more money?
And I sense that it is a total opposite of what the oath they take. The oath they take is to find underlying diseases, but they fail to ask questions when it comes to women's reproductive technology, right? That what is going on? Why is she infertile? Why is she miscarrying? Why is she having long cycles? They seem to ignore the questions in those very significant areas of women's health.
Yeah, so true. Just a reminder, you can purchase this book from the POPOL6 Institute. The website is www.popolvi.com, and you will see the link in the description box below. We are going to read a story today. NaProTECHNOLOGY Treats the Problems, Not Just Symptoms, by Amy Shank, page 67. I began seeing Dr. Hilgers at the St. Paul 6 Institute in December of 1992. I was a newlywed, and my husband Pat and I had just moved to Omaha from Lincoln the summer before. I initially started out with the Institute, not necessarily knowing that I would have infertility issues, but because I was looking for a doctor who was a pro-life and performed no abortions. I had heard of Dr. Hilgers when I was learning how to chart with the Creighton Model Fertility Care System. Before my first appointment, I was sent a questionnaire asking me specific questions about my cycle, my state of mind at certain times of the month, and other health questions. I was surprised at how well this doctor already knew me before I even walked into his office. I was having problems with my moods and really felt at certain times of the month that I was losing my mind. Little did I know that I had PMS and that Dr. Hilgers was going to help me as much as he has. As I was reading this, I was just thinking how hard it is for patients to find a pro-life doctors these days. And that should not be like what you were saying with their oaths. They should be caring about human being, not killing, ending life. But now it's the other way around.
Yes.
So sad.
That would be an interesting study to see how many there are on different websites for the different dioceses throughout just the United States alone. How many doctors are listed that are pro-life? On ours, there are very few.
Yeah.
On our diocese.
Yeah, that's true.
That can at least say, I am pro-life. They are telling the diocese, I am pro-life. And I'm not seeing large numbers of Catholic doctors.
Mm-mm.
So
At my first appointment, Dr. Hilgers said in so many words that he was pretty sure I had a hormone deficiency and could possibly have problems conceiving. I was worried and scared, as I had always wanted children. I was from a large family and an elementary teacher. I just could not picture my life without children. Having said that, as concerned as I was, I had a sense that if something was wrong, I was with the right person. Even though I had just met this man, I had faith that if there was a solution, this was the person to find it. In conjunction with the information from my Creighton model chart, Dr. Hilgers ordered a series of blood draws at specific times in my cycle. Once completed, Dr. Hilgers confirmed that I had premenstrual syndrome, PMS, and ordered progesterone injections on certain days after I ovulated, as well as other medications to alleviate the symptoms I was having. This alone was a huge relief to both my husband and me. I have no doubt that if he left it untreated, this alone could have caused some problems in my marriage.
I had hoped that treating the hormone deficiency would address any infertility problems that I had. After about a year, I became concerned when I still had not conceived. My husband and I often had to remind ourselves of our faith in Dr. Hilgers and his staff. An ultrasound series was ordered, and it was discovered that my eggs didn't fully mature. Another piece of the puzzle fell into place. Sometime after that, Dr. Hilgers performed a laparoscopic procedure. Endometriosis was discovered, as well as a blockage in my tubes. The endometriosis was taken care of during the procedure, but my tubes were unblocked a short time later. Interestingly, this simple procedure was not covered by my insurance, even though I had infertility coverage. They said they would have covered the more invasive, more expensive procedure of an abdominal surgery with 6 to 8 weeks recovery. With the procedure I had, I was back at work the next day. Now I had the stress of taking them to court. Almost 2 years later, I won and they paid.
Good for her. That's great.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
2 years.
Even the insurance doesn't want to encourage something like that.
Isn't that incredible?
Crazy. Isn't it supposed to encourage something that would help promote health?
And get them back to work
Yeah.
sooner than later.
Crazy.
And most likely be more cost efficient in doing it that way.
Yes, and in the end, you are right, more cost efficient. They just maybe hadn't seen the research, or I don't know what, because now it's changed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank God. I include this part of my story for two reasons. First, you can fight the insurance company and win. Second, this illustrates Dr. Hilger's commitment to women in treating the problem and not just the symptoms, and how many insurance companies often hold it against him and his patients. After having my tubes unblocked, Dr. Hilgers started me on a low dose of Clomid in addition to the progesterone. I was discouraged after the first month when I wasn't pregnant. I had resigned myself to a life without children. I thought that if it were going to work, it would have worked in the first month. I went ahead and tried again for a second month. 7 days after my peak, I had a day of light bleeding. Once again, I was discouraged. We had an appointment a week or so later. I had a blood draw previous to my appointment. At my appointment, Dr. Hilgers came in, took one look at my chart, and drew a big plus sign at the end of my chart. We were stunned and pleased to learn we were pregnant. Apparently, the light bleeding was implantation bleeding. We felt so blessed and once again assured that we were at the right place.
The pregnancy was not without its difficulty. My progesterone levels were not where they should have been, and I was on progesterone injections several times a week. I also started light cramping early in the pregnancy. Ultrasound showed that my cervix had dimpling, indicating that my cervix was beginning to dilate. I was placed on bed rest for several months while Dr. Hilgers monitored the dilation via ultrasound. Finally, at 19 weeks, Dr. Hilgers decided to place a cerclage on my cervix to prevent any further dilation. I continued on the progesterone injections, and the rest of the pregnancy was relatively uneventful. Finally, a week past my due date, I was induced. After a rough 14 hours of labor and losing the baby's heart rate, an emergency C-section was performed by one of Dr. Hilgers' associates. Our son, Joseph Patrick, was born on October the 20th, 1994. It was a great day, owed mostly to Dr. Hilgers and his staff. We believe that had we been with another doctor and lucky enough to conceive, we probably would have miscarried due to the low progesterone levels or from my cervix opening too early. Once again, thanks to NaProTECHNOLOGY, Dr. Hilgers was treating the problem and not the symptoms.
When Joe was 7 months old, we decided to try again. After a few months of trying, we started on Clomid again, and our daughter Jennifer Marie was born by cesarean on May 1st, 1996. The second pregnancy was much less eventful. However, I was still on progesterone injections and monitored closely for any cervical changes. Thankfully, no cerclage was necessary. We felt so blessed to have 2 healthy children. We were busy for several years with Joe being 19 months when Jenny was born. Some days were a blur, but we were thankful. We thought our family was complete. I continued seeing Dr. Hilgers for the PMS, hormones, and endometriosis.
Pat and I had talked of trying for another baby, but didn't know if it were up for all that we went through to conceive Joe. We were also afraid that the 5 years since Jenny was born had probably left a window for the problems, such as the blockage in the tubes, to return. We thought maybe we would try in the fall of 2001 to see if we could conceive again. But the most we would do was try Clomid, no surgeries. However, God had other plans, and in June of 2001, I discovered I was pregnant. This was a shock as we weren't really trying. I was on a prescription decongestant for an ear infection, and this apparently threw my charting off. I even called Dr. Hilgers' office and told the head nurse, Linda, that I thought I might have an ovarian cyst since I missed my period. I just really didn't think that I could get pregnant without help. I never understood what it was like when other people found out they were pregnant when they didn't expect it or weren't trying.
Jackson Douglas was born by C-section on February 8th, 2002. His pregnancy was the easiest, well, except for the fact that I was 5 years older and feeling it, with progesterone shots being all that was needed. He has been such a joy, and our family truly feels complete. As Pat and I sit and look at our children, we are grateful for Dr. Hilders and his staff. We know we might not have Joseph or all our children if it were not for their diligence and commitment to life.
I wonder if she did not meet Dr. Holters, really, if she would ever had her PMS symptom treated, if her endometriosis would have been removed.
I don't think so. Do you?
Maybe they would have discovered the blockage in the tubes, but more than that, I don't think they would have discovered.
Yeah, and if she would have conceived naturally, she would be a mess every month with her PMS and not be as much of a loving mother without the PMS.
And like she said, very much prone to miscarriage
exactly.
too.
If she could have maintained the pregnancy without what they did for her.
Yeah.
Well, really, thank God for NaProTECHNOLOGY and Dr. Hilders and all the work that he's been doing. He's been really changing lives.
Absolutely.
Dedication.
Such dedication, right?
Dedication at its finest.
Yes.
Dedication and commitment.
Yeah.
Truly life-affirming women's healthcare,
Yeah.
where he really respects women and marriages and cares about them in a very personal way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
True passion.
Yes.
There's pockets even in the state of Indiana that know nothing of this work.
Yeah, unfortunately.
We have a lot of work right here in the Midwest.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too. Well, this is it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any comments, any questions, suggestions, don't forget to leave them in the box below, in the description below. And thank you so much, Teresa and Margaret. It's a pleasure having you on board.
Marise. Thank you. Beautiful.
Thank you all, and God bless you.
God bless.